Hi, Steve from Steve's Makerspace. About a year ago, September 2019, I created some kinetic art in Gamecraft. I had a nice time doing that. I posted this on Facebook, and an old friend from New Orleans said, "Make real art." This was Adam Farrington, who is a real artist. Here's some of his work. This is another piece of his. He gave this to me for helping him do his taxes. My reaction at the time was, I am making real art. So what if it's virtual? It's still art. But I thought about that. It stuck in my mind. Make real ones. Darn you, Adam. Well, then I was playing Scrap Mechanic Survival, and after a while I was getting bored. And in July of 2020, I made one of my kinetic art pieces in Scrap Mechanic, in Survival. And looking at that piece in Scrap Mechanic, I thought, you know what, this is simple enough. I think I could actually make this for real. Now you have to understand, I've never made kinetic art before. I didn't even know where to begin. I need to learn about gears and motors and electricity and how to cut stuff. And I mean, I've done a little handyman work, but it's not very good handyman work, to be honest. So I had a big learning curve. But on August 2nd, I announced to the world my plan to bring my virtual kinetic art into the real world. This is where I plan to install the piece. I get a lot of passers-by here, kind of a busy thoroughfare. Right after that, I sketched out a design. I ordered a book, I ordered parts. Day one, we are unboxing some things that I bought for the project. So let's take a look at what I've got. Got a standard spur gear motor, 6 RPMs, 12 volt, 500:1 ratio. It's heavier than I expected it to be. 9 volt battery holder. A motor mount that does not fit this motor. My first error. Yay, my first error. Got that out of the way quick. This is basically a switch, a swivel switch. It's called a rotary potentiometer. Got all that from sparkfun.com. Oh, these are specialty scroll saw blade set to go with my scroll saw, which that's my scroll saw over here. So I bought that special for this project, and I cut this out with my scroll saw. Isn't that cool? So this is gonna allow me to do the pattern in the disc. Oh, rechargeable 9 volt batteries plus a recharging station for the 9 volt batteries. What do you call this thing? This is called a mounted pillow block bearing. Basically this swivels in the middle. I'll put something through here and then the disc will rotate because this swivels. This is not how I'm going to ultimately set this up, but for testing the torque and the speed, I've attached this just like this to this piece of plywood that I found. And I'm just going to hold the 9 volt right up to the motor while I hold the motor. So we'll see how this goes. There we go. It works. That's a little faster than I wanted it to go. So that's why I bought the dial, so I could reduce the speed by sending fewer volts to this. If you go to the hardware store, you gotta wear one of these on your belt so that you look like you know what you're doing. I hurt myself. I found a couple of good pieces in my barn. This for the base, and then this for side pieces coming up, and we're done. I've spent some time looking at the parts to see how they're going to be put together. Where's my... I turned the base upside down, and this is the ugly side, and I put this, I measured where the center of this board is, and I placed the motor right on top of the shaft of the motor, right on top of where the center of the board is. And then I've put boards, these boards, here and here, and also over here, and drawn outlines around where the boards are going to go. Well, it's a little bit crooked, which isn't good. I think if I pull this out more this way and pull that one out more that way, that should be able to fix it. Ultimately, I need to be able to get this in here, which I can, so that's okay. Looks good. Okay, this is much more straight. I can get the motor in there. Let's go ahead and put this on. We've got 1.5 inch screws for that. Trying to look down at it just to make sure it lines up okay. No! Those are in. Now, the motor. That is a tight fit. Might have to undo this back here so that I can push these apart a little bit, because it's just a little hair too tight. I've got the motor holder back in. Now I'll slide the motor in, make sure that fits good. Now I can push these boards back together, and now I'll drill a hole. Okay, motor's in there, bolts, everything appears to be plumb. I want to pause here because next step is getting those gears done, and to do that I need to learn to use AutoCAD. I downloaded FreeCAD. I've been trying to figure it out and I'm having trouble with it. So I think I'm going to ask for help and hope somebody can help me who knows how to use AutoCAD to make these beveled gears for 3D printing. I want to say that there's a creative process where I'm doing something that's brand new to me, and there's a lot of like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do that. Sometimes it stops me and I'm reluctant to do stuff, to take the next step because I don't know what to do. And I have to push through that. And that's normal in the creative process, especially if you're doing something brand new, which if you're being creative, you're always doing something brand new. If you're doing something you already know, then it's not really creative. I will say that I'm being safe. I'm not gonna do something that I don't know if I'm safe or not. But other than that, it's good to just push through. So I want this to be 2.5 feet wide, but I couldn't find any boards that were 2.5 feet wide. I did find these boards in my barn, which I thought about gluing these together. They're in pretty rough shape though. So I decided to go to the hardware store and I bought this, which is a little bit more money I spent on a nice board. I think it's gonna work out pretty well. I still have to glue some boards together, so I'm a little nervous about gluing the boards together, but I think it'll be okay. I got it cut. I spent some time trying to get these lined up, making sure that it's nice and flat. I've got a center point. I've done some research on glues that I should use to glue this together, and then I realized I only have enough for 1 disc. I did not buy enough for 2 discs. So I have to go back to the hardware store. Sometimes I'm a big dummy. Unfortunately, I lost a bit of footage here, but I went over to my father-in-law's house, Dan, who lived right next door, and he was going to help me with the gluing of the wood. But he looked at this, and he's got experience with woodworking. He looked at this and he said, you know, that's really not going to stay together. So I was, for a minute, I had this sinking feeling. I was like in the pit of my stomach. No, what am I going to do? But to my credit, I recovered pretty quickly. And I was thinking, Dan knows what he's doing. Let me just listen, see what kind of wisdom he's got to offer me. And he did. He talked about maybe making an aluminum frame, kind of like a bike wheel. And I thought, wait a minute, why not just use a bike wheel? In fact, in the attic of my barn, I have an old bike, like a big old bike. So I got down that old bike and I took the tire off, and this is where my footage picks up again. Just ran to the hardware store, bought some crown molding. It's 1 1/4 inch, not 1 inch, so I'll have to make some adjustments. I've got the wheel off the tire and I'm taking the screws out that are holding the spokes. Well, I wound up using wire cutters actually to cut the spokes out. I've cleaned it. I've decided that silver and wood just don't go together very well. So I bought some spray paint. This is a burgundy colored spray paint, so now I'm going to spray paint it. I've got the lines drawn on my wood, and I'm about to go get it cut out. I've also got these painted. Came out pretty well. This is my father-in-law, Dan. Thank you, Dan, for your help.
Yeah, good, Steve.
Yeah, so we got this cut. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's starting to take shape. It looks like I'm driving a big truck. There's a saying in construction, I guess, measure twice, cut once. There's a cricket in my basement. Well, these are my 2 cuts, my 2 discs, and you can see one of them is messed up. This one right here, I measured wrong, and now because I measured once, I'm going to need to cut twice. I mean, I could, it's still functional, but it's not going to look good. And I know if I let this go and just put it together the way it is, when it's done, I would look at it and say, that's not good enough. So, gonna have to redo it. When I went over there the other day, Dan was telling me about other ideas for making a circle. And he was telling me that you could add some sort of thing going this way to make it support better. And I was getting upset with him because first off, he didn't know, but I had already made this. And second off, you know, if I do this, I'm ruining the art. So anyway, I got upset with him. Sorry, Dan. Now I gotta go back over there and use his table saw again. Oh well. So I've got this in here, and now I need to cut my slats, the other slats. So I've lined these up to make it easy, and I'm going to be getting rid of this, and I can cut this right here. I'll make a line, and then I'm going to be cutting this one right here. Some of these cuts aren't as clean as they could be, so I'm going to clean them up a little bit. There we go. Much better. Got these screws to go into here, but the pilot hole, I've got this drill bit and this drill bit. This one is not giving me a large enough hole, and this one is going to be too big. So I'm going to need to go back to the hardware store, get something in between these two drill bits. Okay. All the pieces are finally cut. Now it's time to start figuring out the attachments. I'm using a Sharpie to mark where I'm going to drill holes. For cutting holes in the aluminum, I'll be using a drill press. Oh, that's not good. That's bad. I don't want to go to the hardware store again. I really don't. Goggles this time. Take it slow now, not force it. This might take a while. This thing had greasy oil with shards of metal. Having to clean that off. That's fun. And it left little bits, sharp bits here. So I'm going to file this, and the paint job is pretty messed up, so I'm going to have to spray paint it again before I put the slats on. I'm doing some sanding, cleaning up some edges, and making sure there aren't little bits hanging off. I want to do this before I do the staining and the polyurethane coat. And then I'm going to wipe it all down with a damp cloth to get any sawdust off. I'm going to give it another coat of paint. We're going to put a stain on it. My daughter Tess is helping me, but I'm not going to show her face. These things look awesome. Next, we're going to do a coat of polyurethane to protect it from water and the sun. Got a spray for this. I am ready to start drilling some holes and attaching the slats to the circle. Got another one down here waiting. I'm pretty psyched. I'm also nervous about this part. This is the part where I could split some of these by drilling into them or screwing into them. I need something to prop this up. I've got a couple of magazines and some paper. Got a little tiny screwdriver for this because got a tiny screw. I want to be careful not to get cocky at this point and think, oh, this is easy, and start rushing. I got to be very careful because, like I said, I do not want to split any of this wood and have to start over again with one of these slats. Look at this. Woohoo! That's a lot of work. It looks good. I'm done with the second one. There's number one. And there's number two. Ooh. Look at that. This works. You know, I said before that I'd gotten bored playing Scrap Mechanic, and this led me to making the art. Boredom is a good thing. I know a lot of us, we get bored and we want to turn on Netflix, make the boredom go away. But I think we do ourselves a disservice. What we're really doing there is making the uncomfortableness go away. And I think we need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That there's a gift there. If you want to be creative, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable and to be in the void. Being uncomfortable is being alive. So I finally decided to post on my Discord, does anybody know how to use an AutoCAD and would they be willing to make beveled gears for me? Well, Day answered me and said, yes, I'd be happy to help you. So we had some back and forth, did a Discord call together, and in about an hour and a half, he had beveled gears for me. Well, we uploaded it to Shapeways, a 3D printer, and the price came back. It was going to be $223 to make the 3 gears that I needed. That's a lot of money. I'm not sure about that. By the way, just as an aside, Day's mother is Kimberly Carroll, who is the head of the Iowa Postal Union and has been making a pretty big stink, letting everybody know about what the post office has been doing. If you want to make sure that people can vote by mail in the fall and people can get their medicine by mail, please contact your senators and tell them to support the post office to fund it. Anyway, back to our story. Day has a friend named Sleepy Fox who has a 3D printer, and Sleepy Fox agreed to print my beveled gears for free. I've offered to give him some kind of reward, like buy him a game on Steam, but apparently he is happy to have used his 3D printer for this project. He said it was going to take about 6 hours to print each beveled gear, so 3 days of printing later, the beveled gears were done and were on their way to me via the US Postal Service. And here are my beveled gears. I haven't opened it yet. I definitely have some concern that it's not going to fit when I actually put it on. I don't know. Let's just look at it. Ooh. 1, 2, 3. Oh man, goodness. Look at that. They're thick. I didn't expect them to be so thick. That might be a problem. We'll see. This one is to attach to the motor, and these two are for the wheels, the discs. So they fit together like this. So I've attached these to here. I'm going to need washers here to keep it from scraping against the wood here. And then this will go, the motor's here like this. It doesn't quite fit, so I'll need to drill this hole more. But it's going to rest here. It doesn't come all the way to here. It comes about here. I think that'll be okay. It does seem to work, I think. There we go. Now I need to find a set screw. It looks to me, looking at this hole, that this is not yet threaded. I found a screw that will go in the set screw hole, and that's pretty secure. I've slipped in the motor. There's a gap here though, so I'm going to have to lower the motor some in order to get these to mesh with each other. These bolts, I'm going to have to go to the store and get larger bolts, because obviously if I'm going to have the disc here, I need another almost an inch more, 3/4 of an inch at least. I've lowered it down, seems to be making contact. I'm going to stick a battery up in here. That seems to be working. That is very promising. Oh, this is slipping. I don't know why this is slipping. That's not good. Alright, I tried just pushing this a little bit this way to see if I could get more contact with this. Oh, no, it's still slipping over here. Why is it doing that? I removed a washer on this side, and I think it's making better contact. I've got some holes drilled in here, and now I'm going to screw these in. Now I'm screwing through this. I start with a small hole. Ta-da! Bought longer bolts at the store. I had to unscrew this in order to get this bolt on. Some washers on there. Now the disc. Put a washer and a bolt. Disc number 2. Oh my goodness. Now we'll put the motor back in place. Try to get the motor tight in there so it doesn't swivel itself when it moves. Oh my goodness. Let me just stick the battery in here like I was before. This is rather difficult. Uh-oh. The motor's trying to move. I don't have it tight enough in there. The set screw is coming loose. Alright, I've tightened it up. Let's try it again. It's still turning the whole motor. That's frustrating. I'll just tighten it up some more. This side is making almost no contact here. If I twist the whole motor, the shaft should go farther to this side, which increases the contact on this side. It's still slipping. It's not. Darn it. Alright, I've twisted the motor. I think it's making contact with both gears now. Darn it. I got one side going and the other side slipping now. This is frustrating. Oh, so close. Also, the set screw is not staying in place. Hello. Here it is. I got it working. It squeaks sometimes. I think there's some rubbing going on. I could maybe see if I can fix that. But it works. Look at that. That's as slow as I can get it to go. If I try to make it go any slower than that, it just stops. Yeah, I think it might be the plastic rubbing up against the wood of the base. I'm not sure what to do about that. I'm afraid if I put in an extra washer, the gears won't mesh. Yeah, extra washer, the gears are not meshing. It's not even, barely even touching the gears. I'm going to use a Dremel to carve where the gear is rubbing up against the wood, and I'll carve a little groove for it. Hopefully that'll stop it from squeaking. The Dremel fixed the squeaking. It works now. I still have to clean up the wiring, but yeah. The problem with the gear not fitting on the shaft of the motor, I fixed with super glue. So this is what I have now, but it's too fast. I want it to go this speed so you can get a good look at the different shapes being made, so you can really savor it. But the gear motor I have can't go this slow, so I've ordered a new gear motor which will have higher torque and lower speed. Unfortunately, it's on back order and it's going to take 6 weeks to get here. So that's where I am today. It occurs to me that since I've created a piece of kinetic art in the real world, that makes me a kinetic artist, which is pretty cool. I'm no Adam Farrington, but it's a beginning. If you like this video, please like it. Consider subscribing to my channel. Leave me whatever comments you like. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. Steve's Makerspace.